What's up, fam? It's Coach coming at you. We're going to move into our very first level here, the calories. What you're going to learn is why calories are going to be, and managing calories is going to be the most critical thing for your weight loss, why you should be focusing most on that, and how you can manage your calories. We're going to cover that in this video as well as how resistance training, that's going to be beneficial in order to help you get the ideal body that you have. Now, before we get into this, I want to say that all of this has been covered before, so this is not new, but this is very important. This has been studied, this has been thoroughly tested. We know calories are important. Now, to piggyback on that, all of these things are going to be very important. The subs that you are taking, that could be beneficial to help you lose a little bit more. The frequency and the timing, that could be beneficial to help you lose a little bit more. But the truth of the matter is, no matter what you are eating, if you are eating too much of it, and when I say too much, I mean in the calories, if you are consuming 6,000 calories, you will always lose or gain weight, whether you are eating 6,000 calories of salad or hot dogs or lean beef. It does not matter what you eat. If you're eating too much, you will gain that weight. So we're going to cover all of that. And that's why single-handedly calories are the most important thing to spend the majority of your time focusing on. So moving right on into this is that there are two ways that you can track your calories. The first one is the easiest, and that's using your basal metabolic rate, using a very generic equation. And that equation is going to be your BMR is equal to your weight times 10 times an activity factor. All right, so we'll just say AF, an activity factor. And I got all that written down here. Your activity factors, assuming you are working out about 3 times a week, which is going to be important, a sedentary activity factor plus 3 times a week. Your activity factor is 1.3 to 1.6. Then we got 1.5 to 1.8. And that is going to be lightly active plus 3 times a week. Plus 3. Then we're going moderately active plus 3. That is going to be 1.7 to 2.0. And then very active. I can't write. Active is going to be 1.9 to 2.2. Now, these are your activity factors. They are ranges. A lot of them out there give you a specific number. We're going to go with ranges because I find it's most beneficial and allows the most flexibility, which is important because not everybody is the same. So your weight times 10 times this activity factor. That's going to give you a ballpark of where you should be starting to focus at. So let's say that with this, of course, it's important to remember that it is easy, but it is not accurate. So that ballpark. So let's say we've got a 150-pound female times 10, and let's say that she is pretty sedentary. She's got an office job, but she is working out 3 times a week. So times 1.3, and then we're going to go 150 times 10 times 1.6 there. And those are going to be our numbers. And those calories, I already figured all of that out. That's going to be 1930 to 2400. 1930 to 2400. Right? So this is what she's going to be focusing on, her calorie counts. How many calories she needs to be consuming in order to maintain. Now if we have a 120-pound individual who is very active, we'll use a 1.9 to 2.2. So 120 times 10 times 1.9 and 120 times 10 times 2.2. And those numbers for a 120-pound woman who is very active and working out 3 times a week, already figured those out. That's going to be 2,280, or just a little bit more than this, all the way up to 2,640. So again, just a little bit more. So 30 pounds less, but very active, completely changes the requirements. That means she should be consuming even more than this 150-pound individual who is not active. So I wanted to point that out. It's very important that our activity, we keep that in mind. The more active we are, the more calories we should be consuming. Now this is an estimated method. The other way that we can keep track of this, we'll put it up here because I quickly ran out of room, is about a 2-week period in which every morning you're going to weigh. So 2-week weigh-in. All right, it includes a weigh-in right after you use the toilet, before you consume anything in the morning for breakfast. So as empty as you possibly can, and you're going to weigh yourself, and you're going to keep track of this. Now, if you're a client, then you've already got access to the table for both of these to make this easy. But you're going to keep track for 14 days in a row. And you are also going to keep track of your calorie counts. So using something like MyFitnessPal, you're going to keep track of how much you eat every day, being as accurate as you possibly can, as this is going to really help you. Now, why are we going to do this? Of course, it's going to take a lot longer. It's not nearly as easy. It takes some time, but it's going to provide you a lot of accuracy. Once you have that accuracy, you feel like you've got a lot of freedom. You have a lot of potential, and you've got a lot of ability and control, which when we're trying to lose weight, a lot of times we feel out of control. So we're going to weigh every day. We're going to count our calories every day. And then we're going to keep track. And at the end of this 2-week period, you're going to have 14 numbers of your weigh-in and 14 calorie counts. You're going to split that so that the first week you see what your weigh-in was, the difference between, or the average of the first week. So you're going to take the first 7 days, and you're going to find out the average of that. And the last 7 days, you're going to find out the average of that weigh-in, and then that's going to give you the difference, the average weight that you had throughout the 2 weeks. When you have those two averages, you will see whether you are slowly gaining or slowly losing. And then you know from those calorie counts, the average of those calorie counts for the first week and the average of those calorie counts for the second week. That's going to give you an idea of where those calories should be based upon how much you are losing or gaining each week. So a really cool process, gives you a lot more information. If you're a client, you've got the tool in order to do that and make it simple. Let's go off of this, because this is realistically what a lot of people kind of want to go into, even though it's a lot less accurate. We've got, back to our previous example, a 150-pound female who is sedentary. So her activity factor is only 1.3 to 1.6. That means her calorie counts are going to be 1930 to 2400. Now, our goal as we do this is, of course, to lose fat while maintaining as much muscle as we possibly can. Now, when you lose fat, when you go on a diet, you will absolutely always lose some muscle. So our goal is to minimize how much of that muscle we are actually losing. Why? Because maintaining higher muscle is your best chance at weight maintenance as well as weight loss. It's your best chance at maintaining a solid BMR that allows you to have some of that freedom, that allows you to lose that weight and have more of that control. So we want that muscle, and additionally, it's going to give us the body that we often really want. We want those sexy shoulders, we want those arms, we want those legs, the hips, the thighs. So muscle is really what does it, right? We don't want to look like one of those like 100-pound supermodels who are just stick thin. We want some muscle underneath because it looks good, and it makes us feel good, it makes us have energy. So very important. All right, back to our all of this. We now know that our range for this 150-pound individual, based upon our activity factors here, 1930 to 2400. That's for maintenance. So we also know, you've heard it a lot, that 1 pound of fat is roughly 3,500 calories. Now it's pretty generic, but we're going to go ahead and use it because it makes things pretty simple. So 3,500 calories, 7 days a week. We also know that we should be losing, we should be at about a 500 calorie deficit every day in order to lose 1 pound per week. Now, let's stop right there. How much weight should we actually be losing? The truth is closer to anywhere from about 5% to 1%. That's what we should be focusing on as far as how many calories we should be, or how much weight we should lose each week. So that, all right? For this 150-pound individual, 150 times 0.5% is equal to 0.75 pounds, all right? And 150 times 1% is equal to 1.5 pounds. So we should be shooting for 3/4 to 1.5 pounds a week. That's why 1 pound a week is usually pretty good. But that also means that people that have a lot more weight to lose, they're gonna lose more fat at the beginning than they are at the end. And that just kind of points out just the direct opposite. When we don't have much, we all know the last 5 pounds or the last 10 pounds. We see people really struggle with that, or we've really struggled with that. It's the hardest to lose. And it's because it is going to slow down, and you have a lot of other factors kind of going against you. One of those factors is your metabolic regulation. As you get closer to your body's optimal size, your body's optimal weight, which your body has one, it will try harder and harder to maintain that weight. So going beneath it is going to be really, really difficult. This is something that elite bodybuilders, elite competition lifters who focus on the physique, they run into that problem, and they're fighting that every day towards that contest preparation. All right, so we now know our range and how much weight we should be losing each week. We also know, since that's right smack dab in the middle of 1 pound per week, and we've got 500 calories is roughly how much we want to do. We want to lose each week. So we take our 1930 minus 500 calories, and our other range is 2400 here minus 500 calories, and we're looking at 1900 and 1430. So we are looking at this range. That is how many calories we should be consuming each day in order to lose about 1 pound each week. Now, of course, that's not perfect. That's not always going to happen, but this deficit can come from eating less, which we know and we love, and because of the metabolic regulation, it will get harder and harder as we go along, but it can also come from more activity. All right, so some of that activity is going to inevitably be, for you women, cardio. We love that cardio. It's going to be a great solid method, but do keep in mind that the more cardio we do, the more likely we are going to lose some muscle, because it's harder to maintain that muscle. And why do we want that muscle? Because that muscle helps us feel good, it gives us the energy, gives us the body that we want, and more importantly for this purpose, it allows us to maintain a certain level of BMR in order to maintain weight loss consistently over the long haul, as well as weight maintenance. And weight maintenance is one of the biggest problems that people who lose weight have. So you want to try to keep all the tools that you possibly can in order to do that. All right. So very, very simple how to do this. All right. We've covered the 2 different ways that you can keep track of what your calories should be. We've talked about how to determine what your calories should be, and this part and this part is exactly the same, whether you are using this very simple equation or that earlier one we talked about that takes over 2 weeks. You'll have a number. That other one that goes over the 2 weeks, it's going to give you 2 numbers that are going to be pretty similar to this. Let's say it's going to be like 1800 and then maybe like 2340, right? So you're going to go this step and then this step right after, just in line with that. Right. Now, we've got those numbers. Of course, if you have any questions, I'm going to help you out. But what affects weight loss? Cardio. Cardio affects weight loss. And we already discussed that when we exercise more, it is going to cause us to not be able to maintain as much muscle, or what we like to call burn muscle instead of fat. What affects weight loss? Right. So we want to make sure that we are not doing too much cardio. Cardio can be good, and if you enjoy it, by all means, do it. We all know in order to achieve that deficit, we either have to move more or we have to eat less. If you prefer to move more, by all means, move more. If you prefer to do that by eating less, by all means, eat less. They're both going to be good in optimal ways. It just depends on what is more consistent for you. Okay? However, there's one slight caveat. For you women out there who are really, really, really tiny, you will find that you often have to work out a lot in order to achieve that weight loss, because you just can't take in any less. If our basal metabolic rate is not at the 2000, if it's closer to about 1500, that means if we're trying to lose weight, we've got to be at like 1,000 calorie deficit, and that's just not very feasible. That's not enough food, it's not very nutritious, so you might have to bank on doing more cardio in order to achieve that calorie deficit. Next one, subconscious activity. Subconscious activity is going to affect your weight loss because we often move and fidget a lot throughout the day. Truth is, we don't fidget a whole lot, maybe about 100 calories throughout the day. But if you do that, and if you find yourself, generally more active because you're walking around or whatever, keep that in mind that is going to affect your calories as well. And we already talked about your metabolic regulation. When you get closer and closer to your body's optimal weight, you are going to find it a lot more difficult in order to lose that, to maintain that deficit, allowing you to burn more fat. Right. Unfortunately, incorrect numbers. Now this is a big one because we know from various studies that the calorie counts you're using are largely inaccurate. So it's very important that you try to maintain as accurate as you can that fits within your flexibility to accuracy continuum that we talked about in the last video. So incorrect numbers. Now this also can mean you reporting, right? So if we are, eating a bunch of yogurt from the grocery store, but we don't know what that calorie count is, and we've got to go for an average, stereotypical generic yogurt. That may be very different. Yogurt can be very sugary, or it can be, very just heavily protein and so lower calories. So your incorrect numbers, that's absolutely going to affect your calorie counts as well. All right. Then for you women out there, you're stressing your hormones. Now this is something that you need to address on your own. You need to find out what is causing that stress. If you are stressed, this is single-handedly the biggest deterrent from any calorie deficit. It does not matter, I've found, largely for many women out there. That is your primary focus. Address your stress and get back to normal. Find a way to fix that problem. If you're looking for a job, maybe you need to find a job, or maybe you just need to start looking for a job, or maybe you need to just take some time off and relax. This happens to me. I gain fat when I'm stressed out, and I find that women really suffer from this one as well. So the next video, we're actually going to talk about your macro level and how that is going to affect you.